I hear Melissa Whitworth, boys, get your down here. And I'm like, what are they? What's going on, honey? I just got home. What happened? Dad, they went up in my voice room where I record, and they took my microphones and they rubbed them on their ball sacks. And I'm like, oh my God.
What are we doing, boys?
I'm home.
Welcome to Fitz and Whit, the show too new to be on your Spotify Wrapped. That's just an excuse because I'm sure Kylie Kelsey's new show is on a lot of people's Spotify Wrapped. We're brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating or review wherever you get your podcast. And yes, always happy to read about why you hate the Chiefs or any gripes about your NFL teams, but we are here for you.
I like that Christmas sweater on you, bud. You look great, man. I got my onesie on. I'm feeling good. It's
Is it
December.
A onesie? That thing zips all the way down?
Oh, yeah, buddy. I don't want to show all that, though. Hey, listen, coming up on the show, Fitz, we got some good stuff today. I'm really excited. We got some, parenting on display for you and I, some A-plus parenting, if you will, from the Whitworth and Fitzpatrick households. Also, I got to sit down with my good old buddy, Jared Goff, and got to surprise him with his nomination for Walter Payton Man of the Year this year. Come on.
He's a great dude.
AG, great human being. And you and I both are going to maybe have a little conversation about who we think is currently out of the playoff picture, but it's going to find their way back in by the end of the season.
But first, epic day on Sunday for me, for you, for Rams fans everywhere, maybe not necessarily for Bills fans. But I want to start off the show by saying,
Rams.
I want to say thank you to you. Me and my two oldest boys, Brady and Tate, 17 and 15 years old, got to join you in the owner's suite at the Rams game. You allowed us to go down on the field. They got to wave to Josh Allen. We got to see Spencer Brown up close and personal. That
huge
thing,
human.
He's got the cool face mask with the visor. He's got the cowboy collar in the back. He makes you look little. Very big human being. But that was quite the experience to share with the boys. And, I know we've talked about etiquette on Air Al's plane. I had to sit down and talk some etiquette with the boys before we got into the owner's suite. But there's a lot of pressure on me, pressure on you, because you invited me. You're inviting some Bills fans into the Rams suite.
What was rule number one? They did a good job with rule number one.
Well, rule number one, which is what you told me, was, and I asked, can they wear Bills gear? Because my son Tate is an enormous Bills fan. And you said, look, he can have a shirt on, but it's got to be underneath a sweatshirt or something. We can't be in the owner's suite repping the away team. Which, look, we
did a good job.
You know what he did, though? I know you caught this. You saw his left wrist, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't know if you'd bring that up. He had a little Buffalo Bills watch on.
He had the wrist strap on, but he had to represent somehow. And he had the T-shirt under the sweatshirt. But I was more impressed probably with my son Brady's performance than Josh Allen.
Okay.
So the other rule I gave Brady was, look, there's going to be sushi. There's going to be steak. There's going to be everything you could imagine. Tate was more of a fan of the Doritos and the hot dogs, but Brady loves sushi. And so I said, you may have 5 pieces at a time. So you can go up and get 5, you come sit down, and then you can go back up if you want later. So his technique was, I'm going to eat 5 while I'm standing up there while I'm putting 5 on my plate and go sit down. But I think he cleared the place out of sushi throughout the 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think there was a request for crab legs at one point. He hit me up. He said, "Whit, are they bringing any crab legs back out?" I'm like, Brady, calm down, my guy.
Yeah, so I may be getting a bill for the food and what went down with all the seafood in the owner's suite. But I'll tell you what, the Kroenke family, unbelievable. And I mean, Stan Kroenke, what a nice guy.
Big fan of the pod. He's a big fan of the pod. He might come on.
He might come on. That's what we hear.
He told us he might. He said he'd think about it.
We'll start coming up with some topics. But you want to talk about humility and just, I love the thing I think I love most about him. I've only talked to him a few times. I know you're really good friends with him. Is he's present when you're in a conversation. He's not looking over your shoulder. He's not thinking about other things. He's not humoring you by standing next to you for a couple minutes. He's present. He's asking questions. He's engaged, and he doesn't have to do that. So we've always, really appreciated the conversations with him.
Yeah, Stan's a wonderful man, and somebody I'm very grateful for. And you're right. That is the most impressive part. Every time you're around him. Just that really the connection you get from him is really special with a guy who's got a lot going on. Just listening to their schedule, all the teams and stuff. I mean, he's got a lot going on to sit there and be present. It says a lot about the human being, which I think is one of the most impressive parts of him. But him and us and your kids and everyone else got to watch what might be game of the year so far, at least as from an offensive standpoint, an insane game. I mean, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, I don't know how many times you and I either looked back at each other or shot eyes over at the throws and plays that were being made, but that was absolutely ridiculous.
There was a couple of the throws by Stafford to Puka. The catches were unbelievable. The throws were unbelievable. I kept saying, like, that's a 10 out of 10 throw, and that is a 10 out of 10 catch. I mean, it was unbelievable. The execution, Stafford's numbers on 3rd and 4th down, out of this world. And then it's a big game when Josh starts running. That's when he really wants it. And he took off 3 or 4 times. Obviously made history with the 3 touchdown passes, 3 rushing touchdowns. But, a couple things I want to hit on. Just one thing from the game, and then we can talk about concerns for the Bills, concerns for the Rams going forward, things that we still like about them. That end of the game scenario has been being talked about a lot, where Josh, they end up doing a quarterback sneak. He doesn't get in. They have to use the timeout, which essentially kills, them being able to take 3 timeouts after giving it back to LA and having a chance at winning that game. What do you think in that situation? Is there something different you do? Is the quarterback sneak still the right call there, or are you getting out and throwing it 3 times if you can't get in? What are you doing there, Whit?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the philosophy that they say Josh, he's the best weapon from that spot on the field to score a touchdown. I don't think they expect that many teams are going to stop him in that scenario, but having said that, I think you either I think you got to try to throw it the first at least attempt, just to see if you can get in without that situation happening. At least I think you waste a couple downs trying to throw it, because you're not going to burn a ton of time, because the real couple seconds don't matter compared to the timeouts. The timeouts are what matter. You could get the ball back with 30 seconds. If you have all 3 timeouts, that's a huge thing. So I think the timeouts are really the biggest problem. So it's do you throw it? And then if you were going to do that scenario, to me, maybe you try, we don't get it on the ball immediately, do it one more time, and then take the timeout. So maybe we get in without burning the timeout, because the real scenario is once you get the ball back to the Rams, can you burn 3 timeouts and you get the ball back with 40 seconds or 30 seconds or enough time and no timeouts to get that field goal off? So that timeout is more important to me than even a couple downs of us attempting to get in the end zone. That was really the factor that bothered you. On the flip side, they handled it great. You look at it, the scenario they have to go kick a field goal, go up 6 if they want with like a 50-yarder, and instead 4th and 5, they go for it, get it, and that really becomes like a huge difference in the game, right?
Yeah.
So, and you and I talked about it as they went down. I mean, Greg Olson famously a couple of weeks ago described this scenario, in the Cardinals game, I believe it was. And It's like, you kick the field goal, you're still only up 6, and the other team now has the ball, all their timeouts, and they're in 4-down world now. So they're going to get a touchdown no matter what. So you've really almost put yourself in a worse scenario by just going up 6 rather than going for it. And so I think in this one, the Rams get that. They had the 3rd and 6. They get a penalty. And then Sean McDermott decides, hey, let's take the holding people. And people can scrutinize that. But the reality is they get the yardage back. Either way, it was going to be a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. Whether the Bills took the penalty or not, it really didn't impact anything. But McVay going for it on 4th down was a huge decision and really handling that scenario the right way. And it led to them being in the opportunity to win the football game.
Yeah, and what do you think now about them? Because it just, I mean, you've been talking about all year when they get healthy. Now they're healthy. Their offensive line is healthy. We're looking at the NFC West, and I mean, it's still shocking to me that 49ers in the situation they're in. But right now it's Seattle looking down at everybody. But I'm looking at that game week 18 with the Rams in Seattle. It may all come down to that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Rams schedule now. I mean, you go to San Fran on Thursday night. Obviously, we have that game this week, but what a huge moment for them. It's an opportunity to go in, and if you can get this win, to me, this is the big one that really tees up week 18, because if you can get this one and you look at really Seattle's schedule going forward, I mean, they've got some tough matchups with Green Bay. They've got to have some division games as well, and then it's like they
got Minnesota too. They got Green Bay and Minnesota.
Yeah. So I mean, you got 2 tough games, and then you're you're going to have to come to LA to really probably have to seal the division. And so the tough scenario for them is the Rams beat them the first time. So they're in that scenario where, all right, we might lose a game, the Rams might lose a game, but no matter what, if they beat us week 18, they'll have swept us in the division, and that's the first tiebreaker. So the Rams have a window, a clear window, probably as anybody, to win this division, because Seattle's going to have to get through them probably to end this season. So we'll see. I think it's nice to see their O-line. I think the first 2 weeks, week 13 and 14, that they've had the group they actually plan to start a season with. I mean, I think that's pretty absurd to think about. So they're healthy, and if they can stay healthy, look, this offense, man, when McVay's in his bag, you've seen some of these games. When we had him on Thursday Night Football against Minnesota, you can tell, like, when he's just in that groove and he's got a feel and an answer for every team before they even get to the next play. It's like they call something, it's like, oh crap, they called it at the wrong time. And it happened yesterday. We saw it time after time, even there at the end of the game scenario. You want to come with zero? I've already called empty.
Stafford, baby. Stafford's going to get you.
He knows all the answers, and we're going to hit you. And that's what he does. And so I think when you talk about Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, LaFleur, all these different, Kevin O'Connell, different play callers across the league that people love, it's not just the system. It's not, oh man, they're great at designing plays. There's this feel you have for a game. And I don't know that anybody, Sean McVay is one of those guys, toe-to-toe with anybody in the NFL. When he's in his feel and he's got a feel for what you're going to do and what your answers are, he's as good as anybody that's in the game right now at the feel of a game as a play caller and having an answer for everything you might have, and even being a step ahead of you at times. And you can just feel it when they're that way. So they're dangerous. There's no doubt about it. So we know where the Rams are really at, Fitz, but when you look over at the Bills side, anything concerning for you from this game?
Well, I think there's a couple things, and Bills fans in general, one of the things over the years that they've complained about is these close games and the execution at the end of the game by Coach McDermott. And so this is just another one that you can point to say, look, we've seen some errors here that reared their ugly head in a game we really needed, and we're behind the whole game, so we really needed to do everything precise and perfect. And we talked about that situation on the goal line and wasting the timeout and essentially putting yourself in a situation where you either get the onside kick or the game's over. And that's what happened. Yep. The game was over. So I think that's still concern number one that's always going to be there. The second thing, just the defense in general. When you run into teams that can really run the ball, and this was a masterclass by the Rams in execution, especially on third down, as we had said. But, there was even at the beginning of the San Francisco game, there were some rumblings and some concerns. Christian McCaffrey, before he got hurt, was running up and down the field on that defense. You look at how they really struggled with Baltimore earlier in the year. That was the one game they got blown out. And then all of a sudden, they're undefeated at home, but they're 4-3 on the road this year now. And so there's definitely some concerns there. I think the other thing, and I'm not too concerned with this one, but Matt Milano's back, but he's really struggled the last few games. He struggled to make an impact. I think it's nice to get him back right now, though, because they do have some breathing room. They've obviously been great all year long, and he's going to get a chance to get back into the flow because it's not easy. I think people think, plug and play, you just get back out there and you go. But Milano plays one of those positions. You've got to be able to see it. You've got to be able to bring the physicality. And he's been struggling a little bit, but he's getting his feet under him. I'm not too concerned for him and the way he's going to play as this season goes on and as they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Fitz. Like, the thing I probably didn't like the most for the Bills in this game is I think the thing I've been really, complimentary about this year for them, and I felt good about them, and why I've continued to say I think they're in that picture of this year could be different, is that this year's felt like, a team where Josh Allen's kind of been able to, I'm not saying not play well, but just step back a little bit. Let's run the football well. Let's bring in a 6 offensive lineman, have a chance to, have some physicality in our offense. And then we'll kind of do some of the other stuff. We have answers kind of for different ways we can win games. We've found a bunch of different ways to win games, even defensively. And then this game kind of went back to me almost like, we went back 2 years ago, and it's like, all right, Josh, just put your cape on, and like, we have no answers. The only answer we have is like, let's just ride you the whole time and see if you can do something crazy. And that's not, to me, how the Buffalo Bills are going to be a Super Bowl team. They got to show like, hey, we can play complementary football on both sides of the ball. Like, we're not always going to lean on Josh. We can come out. And really, once this game got to 17-7, it became, okay, just Josh, it's on you. Like, forget the running game, forget running the ball. It's your show. And that's what concerned me, because I don't want him to go back to that scenario.
Yeah, and he's good enough that he can do it, right? And he showed it.
Yep.
He showed it. But this week's going to be interesting. Again, a road game at Detroit against a team that can run the football. So these are kind of the things that have caught up with the Bills this season. So it's going to be really interesting in a week's time to see if they can get some of this fixed, see what type of things they're going to do to try to slow down that Detroit attack. But we just saw Detroit and Green Bay. I mean, this looks like Detroit's defense is depleted. They're going to go for it on every fourth down. Like, this looks like it's going to be another shootout this weekend. But let's get into just the AFC playoff picture in general here, Whit.
Oh, man, there's some good scenarios.
Well, it's crazy because right now there's essentially 9 teams that can fill those 7 spots. This weekend, you just look at the schedule makers and the way this whole season has gone. I mean, they've really hit some of these matchups on the head in terms of timing. So this weekend, you've got the 2 teams that are out of the playoffs that are potentially going to be able to play themselves in, or at least give them a chance, or else they're just going to be done. And one of those is the Colts. The Colts are going to Denver and they're playing the Broncos. If they don't win this game, they're toast. But look, if the Colts win this game, you look at the last 3 games they have, they're playing the Titans, the Giants, and the Jaguars. So that feels pretty good to me, although I don't know that we can trust Anthony Richardson. And then with Miami, they're going to Houston. And if they can beat the Texans and stay alive, you know, they're going to have to win out. They've got a couple games late at Cleveland, at the Jets. I don't think Miami has a chance to make the playoffs, but they can make some noise if they beat Houston in Houston this week. But if those scenarios don't happen, let's say the Broncos win and the Texans win. I was looking at the AFC North today. I mean, I know that there's a 2-game spread right now with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, but I mean, you played in that division for a long time, Whit. Anything could happen there, but the scenario of Baltimore winning the AFC North is still very much alive.
Yeah, give me the window here. Let's see.
Okay.
So they got.
Did you see the schedule? Have you seen the schedule for the Steelers the next 3 games?
Yeah. Yeah, they're in Philly, right? And then
so they're
Kansas
in Philly.
City.
No, so they're in Philly, they're in Baltimore, and they're home against the Chiefs.
Home against the Chiefs. That's right.
They've got all 3 of those games in an 11-day window.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so let's say they lose all 3 of those. They're sitting at 10-6, and they beat the Bengals the last game of the year. They're at 11-6. Okay, very likely that could happen. Let's say Baltimore's schedule, they win 3 out of their last 4. They've got the Giants. They have to beat the Steelers, or this conversation doesn't matter. The Texans and the Browns. Very likely they could win all 4 of those.
Definitely.
Let's say they win 3 of those. So all of a sudden, these 2 teams are tied. And you start going down the tiebreakers. And I wrote them down right here. So tiebreakers, head-to-head, they would be even, 1-1.
Yep.
Win-loss percentage in games played the division. They would be tied at 4-2, most likely. Win-loss percentage in common games. Most likely they would both be 9-5 in the common games. Win-loss percentage in the conference, most likely they would be 8-4. We would go down to the 5th tiebreaker, which is strength of victory in all their games.
Oh, man.
I'm going to have to spend another 2 hours to figure that one out. But it just seems like this has been the Steelers' division all year long. All of a sudden, this 3-game stretch in 11 days
is everything.
Just torture for them. And to add to that, Baltimore's coming off a bye this week. They're getting healthy. They're getting rested. And the other thing that I would say about Baltimore, Lamar Jackson had his mom as his agent. She did the deal, the whole thing. He listens to his mother. She was very pissed last game with her son because he wasn't taking off and running. The most dangerous version of the Baltimore Ravens is when Lamar uses his legs.
Yep.
And when he's not always, look, he can throw from the pocket. Yes. Every time we listen to Chris Collinsworth, that's all he says during the game. He's developed into a pocket passer. Yes. But the Baltimore Ravens are most dangerous when Lamar is taking off and running. When he becomes a reluctant runner and wants to live in the pocket, that's not when they're at their best. So Lamar's going to start listening to his mom. He's going to start taking off again. And this is going to make him that much more dangerous. I think We'll see what that fifth tiebreaker does. But I think Baltimore still wins the AFC North, which seems a little bit crazy to say.
Ooh, I like this. This is going to develop nicely. I like that pick. You know what? I'm with you. I think this gets real interesting. AFC wise, I still think Chargers, Broncos to me are two interesting teams. Like I want to see first round of the playoffs. I think this Broncos team to me is one nobody wants. I get like the feelings of like Andrew Luck, who's rookie, or I think it was rookie or second year with the Colts, like Mark Sanchez with the Jets. Like it just feels like something about this Broncos team, a great defense, a young quarterback who has no idea what's going on. He's just going to get in this game and he's going to sling it. And I think that's just not a good matchup. I don't think anybody really wants the Broncos in this playoffs for their opening game because I feel like a great defense and a young quarterback and obviously a great play caller in Sean Payton. Like they're the team I have circled on here that might get upset somebody's feelings about their chances at the Super Bowl quickly in this AFC picture.
All right, so we're kind of making sense of the AFC a little bit, and I think maybe those 7 teams by this weekend are going to be decided, just a matter of where they fall and where they're going to be seated. But the NFC, Whit, you spent a lot more time in the NFC than, well, I guess, I don't know. I played for, let's see, you spent 5 years in the NFC. I spent 2, 3, 4, 5. I spent 5 years too, but look, I never made the playoffs, so I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah, I was about to say, what do you know?
Talk to me about the NFC playoff picture here.
Hey, look, I love obviously the top 2 teams. We've talked about it for the last few weeks. Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles. I think those are probably the class without question. They're the upper class of this whole entire conference, not just because of their records, but I think their styles. I think who they are, the identity those 2 teams have. They separate themselves from the rest of the group.
A.J. Brown didn't seem too happy with
I understand.
Receivers.
I understand it. It doesn't. Anytime your quarterback has 100 yards and y'all win, the receivers are not going to be real excited. There's definitely some animosity going on there in Philadelphia.
This is part of playing quarterback. This part of being a good coach is dealing with the egos, keeping everybody happy. And that's not to say that, A.J. Brown is a distraction but A.J. Brown's a great player. A.J. Brown loves winning, but he also thinks that maybe beating the Carolina Panthers and skating by isn't what's going to be the best for this team. There's more there. There's more meat left on the bone. And I think that's why he voices frustrations after the game, because in order for them to get to where they want to be, which is the Super Bowl, there's a lot better things are going to have to be happening in that passing game, especially through A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, there's always that happy medium. Like you want to be excited that you're winning games. Like in the NFL, I think these top teams, it's a bad sign when they're taken for granted. Like, hey, we found a way to win. Like you saw Andy Reid say that in their locker room for the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. Like, hey guys, don't forget this is hard to do, and you're getting everybody's best shot. I mean, this Panthers team took the Chiefs to the wire, right? So for the Eagles, it's like you're frustrated. But I get worried when we start putting it in the media because it's just regardless of how you feel about how Jalen Hurts is playing, it's not the makeup of how you have the best culture, how you have the best success, because you want to have those conversations. Hey, on Monday, if you want to come in and we want to go at each other in the locker room once the media is out, there's like, hey, some tough conversations need to be had. That's great. You just don't want to be don't feed people the stuff they need to really create animosity. But when you get back to this NFC picture, hey, early in the year, we had this talk. I think we were doing this in Atlanta with the Falcons-Bucks. I said I thought the Bucks would win this division. I changed my mind about halfway through the season because things weren't going good. But I just love to see that the feel was right. The Bucks have creeped themselves back in here. I don't think anybody's talked about it enough. The job Liam Cohen's done as the OC there, bringing Bucky Irving to life, Bake, this offense. I mean, what a great job he's done. I'm proud of him, man, that the Bucks have made some noise. And don't forget, I mean, they're a team last year that was looking to knock people off. So they're an interesting group. Baker kind of goes in that category, I think, every year of the rookie quarterback playoff team that you don't want to face, because with Bake, you never know what you're going to get. And when you get him hot and when he's in a groove, that's not a great opening playoff game either for any of these teams. That's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. And I would much rather face the Falcons than I would the Bucks at this point. The Falcons are in shambles a bit, man. I mean, they've kind of fallen apart and it's been tough. But the Commanders, it looks like they're pretty secure.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a pretty tough scenario to see them falling out.
Yeah, so really it's NFC West. Like, who's going to win the NFC West is, I think, the big question right now. And can the Bucs hold off the Falcons? I think are the two questions in the NFC.
What about this team fits the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, everyone forgets they exist. They're 11-2.
They're
11-2.
Yeah. Well, and they get to play the Lions again.
Yep.
I believe.
In the
so
season.
So they'll play the Lions again. I mean, it's amazing what they've done. I think just the Sam Darnold conversation is funny too, of like, where's he going to go next year? Like, why, if you're the Vikings, do you not want Sam Darnold back? And
I keep people saying, like, no question he's leaving this organization. It's like he's out. I don't understand. I mean, it kind of feels like it's worked.
Yeah, it's worked. And, you have precedent of like Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield who have come in and kind of resurrected their careers. Geno, I think, was 3 for 75. Baker was 3 for 100 was the contract. So if I'm Sam Darnold and his agent, I'm saying, okay, 3 for 100 is the starting point. Let's see what you guys have to say and go from there. But I think 3 years is fair for both Minnesota and Sam. J.J. McCarthy, yes, he was drafted in the first round, but it's okay to sit and wait.
Yeah, look at Jordan Love. I mean,
policy.
It's very similar to the Jordan Love situation. Now you've got your insurance policy at quarterback that you can still develop, and you're not paying some, I think when the number for Sam gets too high, maybe that's the conversation. But if you're not paying some ultra premium to have a good quarterback that you've had success with, I don't see why it's not an opportunity. Not to mention, J.J. McCarthy had a knee surgery, he had an injury. Like, you don't know exactly what you're going to get and how healthy he is until you get him out on the football field and see how he handles it.
Sometimes the unknown is like this sexy thing for fans, but as a football coach, O'Connell, I'm sure, is pretty happy with the way that our guy Sam Darnold's played this year, and he is a known quantity at this point in that offense and with those playmakers on the outside.
The NFL season is rolling along, and the contenders are separating from the pack. The one thing that hasn't changed this season, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, is the #1 place to bet touchdowns.
We don't care how they get them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings is the best place to do it. Here's a reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Whit, who you got this week?
I'm going to ride this horse, baby. The Los Angeles Rams going into San Francisco to play the Niners. Fitz, I'm going to take my boys' money line and Kyron Williams with 2 tutties.
Wow.
Let's go, baby.
All right. Well, I'm going to go. I'm a homer as well, I guess. I'm going to go with the Bills.
We're loyalists.
I'm going to take the over in the Bills-Lions game. I'm going to take Bills' money line to beat the Lions, and I'm going to take the over on Josh Allen rushing yards to complete my parlay.
Wow, that's aggressive. Well, score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code Fitz and Whit.
You heard it, Fitz and Whit. For new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Well, Fitz, we got to go back though. Look, Sunday was great. Some great games. Obviously, Rams Bills was probably going to be my favorite without question. But let's go back to Detroit, man. One, it was really freaking cold, and I'm glad they do play in a dome. That's my first thing that I will say. I had a great time having Drew Mann with me. I had my son Andrew Whitworth Jr. with me. It was his game. Michael already got his earlier in the year, so it was fun having him around. But we had a pretty epic meal on Wednesday night.
Dude,
talk to me about it. You're rocking the hat, I see.
I haven't taken it off since we went. We went to this place called Miller's. It's been around since 1941, I think. We didn't know what we were getting into. We just knew it was a burger joint. So we walk in, we sit down. We'll take a menu, please. Well, we don't have menus. Start looking around. Okay, no menus. Great.
How's this work?
I'll get a double cheeseburger, please. You start talking about what you want to put on the double cheeseburger. They say, no, but you just order the cheeseburger. We'll bring the condiments out. And so they brought pickles out in a Ziploc baggie. They dropped some onions on the table. Oh, and they don't have plates either. So they serve everything on wax paper. So this was very interesting. The onion rings and the fries were really good. Again, not on the menu. We just had to guess at what they had back there. But burgers, fries, onion rings. We had a nice little Christmas ale. I remember,
that was good.
Right?
Yeah, Christmas ale
there
was
was
good.
a menu for the drinks, though. Yes, just not the food.
Honor system.
And then the coolest thing I think was the honor system, which was you go at the end of the meal, you walk up to the bar, you tell him what you had to eat, and then he rings you up and charges you. But you don't have a bill. You can't give a credit card because it's all cash. And it just seemed like these people had worked there for a long time. It was a family established restaurant. Everybody in there was regulars. And these are the type of places we like finding on the road for sure.
Oh, I mean, this is what it's all about. This is why we venture out when we go Thursday night football trips to try to find spots like this. But I also want to just throw in one, we've talked about being hot and bothered about something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. The patties. I mean, these hamburgers, okay? Here's what I loved, okay, as a big fella. I'm tired of this smash burger mess, okay? Listen, I don't want the patty mashed down to where it's thin like a tortilla, okay? Sherm's going to be mad at my words here, but I want a big, thick, I want the patty. I want it to, listen, I want this hamburger patty to be legit. I want it to look like a steak, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what these were. They were juicy. These things were so good. I could have snuck back over there. I mean, that thing was damn good.
Well, when we ordered the doubles and she said, oh, I don't know, that's a lot of meat. I almost went triple but I thought better of it and only went double. But and then Drew let me down at that meal. He had 5 meals that day, but he ate about half of his burger.
Son, eat your damn burger.
Eat your burger, man. He's 13. His shoe size is already bigger than mine. He's going to be a monster eventually.
That's
I thought
soft.
One cool thing though, Drew and Jared Goff and kind of the special relationship they had. Goff was on the desk afterwards. What a great dude to talk to. And even talking through some of the situations with him, 4th down, they knew it all week, 4th and 5 or less, they're going for it. They didn't get one on their own 30. They got one at the end of the game, when they're already in field goal range to make sure that Green Bay didn't have a chance. But then after that interview, Drew's standing by, and there's a little moment with Jared and Drew that I just thought was pretty cool and had to be neat for you as a dad as well.
It is, man. I mean, Jared obviously is somebody I consider a little brother. And when I came to Los Angeles Rams in 2017, he had a rough rookie season. You think of Bryce Young, possibly just to think of somebody recent, really rough year. Jeff Fisher's last year here as the Rams. Sean McVay comes in. I come in free agency, me and Robert Woods. And we have that turnaround to our season. And I'll never forget, man, just the day-to-day of what a young kid Jared was. 3 years at Cal, coming out, in LA now. It just lots of pressure to play that position at a high level, and you don't have a great success at first. And the next year you're a little beaten down just because of how tough it was. And you got to remember that was a defensive team. They were insane on defense. So there's lots of pressure from the defense. So why is the offense not any good? All those things. And it was almost like just seeing him have people believe in him. I think similar to things you've shared about Tua, seeing Sean McVay believe in him, seeing the Rams organization, like, hey, your future is going to be great. We're going to invest in you. It was cool to see. And then I'll never forget realizing how special he was going to be. A few weeks into the season, Michael, America's gotten to see, and you've gotten to be around, has a way to get his way is the best way I could put it. And he shares with Jared Goff after one of the games in the locker room that he had lost his goldfish at home. And he sat in Jared's locker the whole post game while Jared was doing post game interviews. And he must have just worked Jared over, because I'll never forget, Jared comes up to Melissa and I don't know how many times this has ever happened in the NFL. He comes up to Melissa and he says, hey, on Tuesday on my day off, can I come get a car seat from you? And we're like, why? He's like, well, I feel bad for Mike losing his goldfish. I'm going to come get a car seat. I want to pick him up from school. I'm going to take him to PetSmart and we're going to get him some new fish. And so they end up, wow. I don't know if end up going, he gets a car seat from us. We strap it in his car. Michael's in kindergarten at this time. He picks Michael up from kindergarten, takes him to get him his own big, huge aquarium, two fish, all kinds of stuff. This is like the sickest aquarium a kid's ever had in their life. We could barely fit it in their room.
First pick money right there.
First pick money. And he named the 2 fish Goffy and Gurley for Jared and Todd
cool.
Gurley. And such a cool moment, you knew then, like, this kid gets it. Like, he gets, like, man, authentic relationships and creating bonds. And he's a little kid at heart himself. He's got a real passion for people. And that's why it was really cool to get the opportunity to give him his Walter Payton nominee, award and surprise him with that. Because for me, Jared and I had some really cool moments in LA. Obviously, we know how the trade ended up with Matthew Stafford coming in, him going to Detroit, and now he's responded. And I think it's worked out. One of the few trades you see, it's worked out amazing for everybody. I think everybody won in that trade. The Rams with the Super Bowl, Stafford with his success, Goff obviously and the success he's having in Detroit, and the new contract, he's gotten married. It's been amazing to watch, but also just the human being off the field. Jared's heart, the things he's done out in the community in LA. Him and I during COVID had an opportunity to, match donations to the food bank during COVID. We both gave $250,000 and matched each other to create meals for people who were really struggling. And it was a really neat moment of like big brother, little brother. We've had some special times, and let's do something special for other people. And then now what he's created in Detroit with his foundation and those things, it's cool for me to feel like at one time I was the guy inspiring him. And then now, man, I'm inspired in the way he's carried himself in Detroit, the character he's shown in that whole entire thing, to now even how he's built off of it and multiplied it into what he does in that community. It's really freaking neat to see. So I'm really happy for him, man. It's awesome to see great things happen to really great people.
Yeah, and the Jared Goff chants. I mean, they really appreciate him there in Detroit. But I just don't know that I've ever been in a stadium where there's been that many chants. He's got a chantable name, I guess, Jared Goff. But they love him there, and he reciprocates it, and it's unbelievable. For us to be able to live this great life that we live and to have included our kids in some of these moments and to still get to include our kids in these moments is so special. But it's so funny. It's almost like we live two different lives. We live this
no doubt
life like in the NFL, or now we live this life on the road with Thursday Night Football, and so much fun and so many great stories. And we get to include our families in some of those every now and again. The worlds collide. But I also love coming off like the high of Thursday Night Football and a great game in Green Bay and Detroit, or even, the week before when it was Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and then you return home to normal life. And it's so great because the worlds are so different. But I know you had an awesome story you wanted to tell me about when you got home, and just kind of, it hits you right away, the reality of, okay, I'm no longer living this lavish NFL life. I am back at home being dad.
Yeah, you go on the road, and that's one of the reasons I want to bring the kids. I want them to see what it is, and Drew realized it quickly. We're in Detroit. We're in a hotel. It's cold as crap. There's a lot of sitting around and waiting. He's like, man, this is kind of boring. I'm like, yeah, buddy, it's different. And then you get to the game, and it's amazing, and you see everybody, and it's this epic moment, but you're away from what you're used to. And you have 7 kids. I have 4. I got 3 dogs. My wife invites the whole entire community over to the house all the time. So I've never been in my house with less than 85 people in it. So it's just, listen, it's like I go from quiet sitting in a hotel room to going to a football game to on a plane. I think we're at 120 hours now, Fitz. I did the math the other day. We've been, it's a lot of alone time. And then you get home and it's just chaos and everything's going crazy. Well, I got home Saturday. I had gone from Detroit to Atlanta for the SEC game. I was a SEC legend of the SEC championship this week. It was a really cool honor.
That boy, Whit. That boy.
Yeah. So I flew to Atlanta from Detroit, fly home from Atlanta to LA on Saturday. I walk in the house and my daughter, Sarah, is waiting on me. She jumps out of the couch. She comes up, gives me this huge hug. She's 13. She's got a twin brother who's 13, Drew, who was with us. And she's like, Dad, my brothers and their buddies are so annoying. And I'm like, what are they? What's going on, honey? I just got home. What happened? What did Michael and his buddies do now? Dad, they rubbed my microphones. They went up in my voice room where I record, and they took my microphones and they rubbed them on their ball sacks. And I'm like, oh my God.
What are we doing, boys?
I'm home. And I'm like, all right. And the next thing I know, I hear Melissa Whitworth, baby, the Southern Belle herself. Boys, get your asses down here.
Okay, pause real fast. So when things like this happen, it's Melissa that's laying the hammer down. Is that usually the case?
No,
okay,
listen,
okay. You just sit back and observe.
Remember,
yeah,
I'm the ice cream guy. Okay, I am only here for when everyone needs ice cream and they're sad.
Love it.
All right, that's it.
Okay, so Wrath and Melissa.
Woo. Wrath and Melissa. Boys, get your asses down here. They come running down the stairs. Michael and all his buddies. She's getting their makeup done because we were going to a Christmas party. And literally, they all circle around her in her chair, and she's doing her makeup, and she's like, all right, listen to me. did y'all really rub your balls on Sarah's microphones? I mean, what are we doing? And Michael and his little buddy are like, wait, not like our balls? And she's like, yes, did you put your balls on Sarah's microphones? No, Mom. Like, we had our clothes on. It was just outside the shorts. We just like rubbed outside the shorts. Sarah's standing there, not even a blink of an eye. Melissa turns, Sarah, stop being so sensitive. It was just outside the shorts on their ball
Sarah
sacks.
got in trouble?
What? And I'm like,
poor girl.
I'm home. I mean, if this isn't being home, this is home right here. This is Sarah. Stop being so soft. It was on their shorts. It wasn't on their actual ball sacks. I mean, come on, get with it, Sarah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Epic,
That's parenting 101 right there.
And if you just write that down in your notebook, if you need one, okay, just write it down.
Okay, so Sarah's not going to grow up soft then. She's going to learn how to deal with situations.
Outside the shorts. I mean, come on.
I'm coming after Drew and Michael next time I see him. That is not okay for either of them. I'll just do it not in front of Melissa because I don't want to get in trouble by her either.
Exactly. That's my goal.
I had one too. So we did a little staycation. We had some soccer tournaments in Scottsdale, and there's this hotel, the Princess, that does a great it almost looks like your backyard in terms of the amount of Christmas trees and lights and different things that they do, fun rides for the kids and stuff. I actually thought I was in your backyard at one point, but the hot cocoa and the s'mores and all of that. And so, we're 2 days, but really we've got 9 soccer games. So we're, an hour or 2 hours at a time. We're trying to squeeze everything in at this hotel, trying to get our money's worth. And there's some ice skating. And so Sunday morning, we have soccer games. Sunday night, we have a 45-minute window before we had to go to my son's state championship game for football. And my 5-year-old is not eating his dinner. And I can be the ice cream guy, but I can also lay the hammer down a little bit, especially something silly like this. He hasn't eaten any of his chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. He's had like a piece of fruit. I said, Jake, we're not leaving until you eat that chicken tender. So he gets halfway done. We're walking to the ice skating rink. Dad, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm not hungry. So Jake, eat the damn chicken tender or you will not get on the ice. So he finishes the chicken tender. And the second he finishes the chicken tender,
Jake, you got it, baby.
He throws up all over the sidewalk.
Oh, no.
And then I said, Jake, are you okay? And then he looks at me and I throw him into the rocks and then he pukes all over the rocks and wipes his mouth off. And Jake, are you feeling sick? Are you feeling sick, bud? No, I'm doing okay, Daddy. I'm doing okay. So then we got those ice skates on and we went over to the ice. I mean, we paid $30 to get on the ice.
You're still skating, damn it.
Thank God he didn't vomit on the ice. But just one of those moments where you're like, gosh, he seems a little bit off, but we're going to have him eat his damn food. He was off for a reason. His stomach was bothering him. He throws it all up. Father of the year. I got other parents looking at me. I actually said that there was a couple walking by with 2 young kids. It was like a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. They were definitely judging me. And
there's no doubt.
Yeah, I was like, look, this is my 7th kid. I think we're going to be okay. All right. I've gone through the paces. He threw up. He's going to be fine. He's putting his skates on. We paid $30. He's getting on the ice.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you know how it is. You're going to get judged out in public parenting. It's going to happen. I mean, Melissa does not hold back at all. I mean, I think she's threatened to smack the kids many times in front of people. And she's just saying it for theatrics. But people, they're like looking over at us like, whoa, so, but listen, she's a passionate woman. Okay. She's also threatened to smack around some offensive linemen every now and then if they don't protect me when I get in a fight. So,
well, I think she got a Twitter ban for that. We can't have her on social media anymore.
This is a fact now. Melissa Whitworth has called 1-800-ANGRY FAN or whatever it is.
That's a story for another day.
That's a story for another day.
But that's a good one, though. That's
a really, really good one. We'll share that one another time. But yeah, man, parenting 101, baby. We did it. It was a good week for our parenting moments. It's okay if they rub outside the shorts and you know what, eat that chicken finger and throw up. So
puke and rally. I mean, he's learning for college. He's do the little puke and rally there, Jake. We're raising tough kids.
Follow our example, people.
All right, heading to San Fran this week. Can't wait. We've got the NFC West battle, 7-6 Rams against the 6-7 Niners. Been a disappointing season for them, but great win last week. My favorite thing about going to San Francisco, my buddy from college has a brewery in San Jose. It's right by where we stay, Hoppas. And last week,
a good time last year.
Yeah, or last year, there's a little cornhole tournament going on. There's going to be one again on Wednesday night.
What?
I'm certainly going to show up and play. I don't know if you'll be able to go or not, depending on your schedule, but super cool. And then when I think about Levi's Stadium, it's where my daughters went to go watch the Eras Tour, and Taylor Swift's Eras Tour just came to an end. I wasn't able to attend, couldn't afford enough tickets, so I got thrown out. But the Eras Tour just came to an end last weekend in Vancouver. I know you went, right? You've got some special memories from this tour.
I've shared this. You know what? It's a very special tour. I'll tell you why, Fitz. People ask me all the time, when you retired, what hit home, or, when you won the Super Bowl, was it like a flashback of your career? And I would say that a lot of times in those scenarios, when everything's going on, you really never have it hit you, and you don't really deal with the emotions. Like, I wasn't one of those guys that felt like I ever dealt with the emotions of, I retired, I won the Super Bowl. Obviously, that week was insane. I won Walter Payton Man of the Year on Thursday, won a Super Bowl on Sunday. The two teams that are playing in the game are the two teams that I played for in my NFL career, in the Cincinnati Bengals and Los Angeles Rams. But I never really felt like I had a moment where I was like, oh, it's over. And how freaking cool is it to be a Super Bowl champion? Well, that next August, Taylor Swift obviously does her epic stay in LA, where she plays at SoFi. I think it was 6 or 7 nights in a row, or whatever it was, or did 6 or 7 shows. And we were having our Amazon seminar. And sure enough, Roger Goodell was here, and Kevin Demoff and the Rams had a suite. And I was trying to figure out how to get to the game. The comment came out, hey, I think I could get you a ticket, whatever, or to the concert. And so I ended up getting a ticket and taking my 2 boys, because my boys were obviously insane fans also. But before that, way before that, right after we won the Super Bowl, my wife and her best friends and all their daughters, they have a big singing group they do for school, and they had gotten tickets, and they had it was forever, almost a year out, and they got these tickets. They were so jacked up about it. So I go to the game, and I'm in the suite we sat in Sunday for the Rams-Bills game.
You keep calling it a game. You went to the concert.
Dang it.
Thank you.
So I'm at the concert, and I'm sitting in the suite, and it's Kevin Demoff, Goodell, and my 2 boys. And I'm looking at Taylor Swift come on the stage. I'm looking around SoFi like you and I did multiple times on Sunday about just what an epic stadium this is. And straight across from me, across the field, in the suites right across the field up top, a couple rows up, is Melissa and my daughters and all their friends. And they're watching Taylor Swift, and she's coming out. I don't even remember if it's like Cruel Summer or one of her songs, and the whole place just is insane. I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at Taylor Swift, and I'm thinking the stage is in the end zone where Cooper Kupp caught the touchdown pass to win the Super Bowl, and it hit me. And I was like, how freaking cool, man. I grew up in North Louisiana, small town in Monroe, Louisiana. Lived in West Monroe, Louisiana most of my life. Melissa's from Ruston. I had no idea where I'd go in life. And here I am. I'm sitting in one of the most epic stadiums in the world that I won the Super Bowl in. I won the Walter Payton Man of the Year in the write-off in their studio next door, literally in the theater next door. And now my kids and my family are having this epic moment watching the biggest star in the world have a concert right here in this same place. And so the rest of our lives, we're going to come here, and we will have always, in this epic stadium, have won a Super Bowl, won the coolest award ever, and had this epic moment with our kids. And I was just sitting there going like, what the freak happened? Like, how did my life even get to this point? Like, it was a really neat moment of like, just so proud of like my family and all the work we've put in and all the people who've been a part of that journey. So for me, Taylor Swift is amazing. Her concerts are insane. I became a huge fan through my kids and all of that. But even more so, like, she will always be a memory of mine, because it's the moment that it hit me, like, how freaking cool some things I've gotten to be a part of. I feel very blessed. So it was really neat. And so into that tour, but I will always be an Eras Tour fan for life.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Whit. That kind of hit me. That was good stuff. It also, it makes a lot more sense now. When last time I saw Roger Goodell and he said, Whitworth was crying during the Taylor Swift.
That's
I didn't know
not
he was
true.
such a
He didn't tell you that.
No,
It
he
might have
didn't
been a
tell me
tear,
that.
but
I'm just kidding.
I might have had a tear or two, but I wouldn't have shown it to anybody. You know me better than that.
Kidding. No way. You're not showing any emotion. Neither am I. Well, that does it for this episode of Fitz and Whit, a Wave Sports Entertainment original. Subscribe on YouTube, follow wherever you get your podcasts, like and comment, and follow us on socials. And we will see you next week.